I'm Christy Goldthorpe, Network Specialist Centre Facilitator for the Department of Education, and Mr Mark King, Principal at Corrimal High School. Thank you, ladies. Absolutely amazing. You're the reason why we do what we do. I had tears in my eyes, and I looked at Natasha and I thought, oh, she's going to go. But you guys are the reasons we do what we do, and the children. And I guess the collective, the work that's been done and the connections that are made are all enabling us to do our work better and getting better outcomes for children. I guess one of the biggest things that we've done is around STEM. So I'm going to ask Mark a couple of questions around STEM, and all government agencies have their acronyms. So my first question to Mark will be, what is STEM?
STEM is about a way of teaching some connected subjects. Those connected subjects are science, technology, engineering and maths. And it's a way of teaching it in a way which is project-based. By that we mean real-world problems with real-world solutions done by students in a combined subject, not looking science and technology and maths, but doing all of those subjects at one time in the one space.
Thanks, Mark. And why is it important to be doing STEM?
Well, you've asked the wrong teacher here. I'm an ex-head teacher of science. STEM is important because more than 2/3 of the employment out of a school sector is STEM-related employment. The majority of the New South Wales employment is STEM-related. So unless we actually make sure that our students have those skills and knowledge in the STEM-based areas, it's shutting down so many doors for their future employment. That's why it's important.
Thank you. What is the Corrimal COS doing collectively around STEM?
Early on you heard about brokership that was involved. It's not very often that our local high schools and local primary schools have people from Google come out and talk to us about what their plans are and actually helping us drive science, technology, engineering and maths in our schools. So that was part of that brokerage we had. What we're actually doing in the community of schools is we're making sure that we've got again, jargon time, we've got a continuum of learning from kindergarten to year 12. And that continuum of learning means that we don't have those transition points where a kid comes from a primary school into a high school and has to spend 2 years relearning everything. We know where the students are, we know what they're capable of doing, and we take that further. So in the Bellambi community previously, there was lots of concerns about what people thought our kids were, what our reality was, and what we know our kids are capable of doing. What the community of schools and the project has actually done is actually done a lot more focus about what we're capable of doing, what we want to be. So that's where it's been important.
Great. And how has the collective work helped?
I'll give you one example which I'm quite boasting about at the present time. The University of Wollongong had a science fair 2 days ago, and a whole range of schools were there from Southern Tableland, South Coast, Illawarra area. And I had my colleagues from other government schools there, but I also had my colleagues in private schools and independent schools there. The winning project in chemistry was from Corrimal High School. As an indication of where our students can be, that we can beat any given school, any given private school, any given Catholic school, any given government high school, because of the working together to make sure our kids are capable of reaching these high outcomes. So that's an example of what we've done. We are one of 28 schools in the state that was selected to be involved in the Integrated Science, Technology, Engineering and Maths project. We have been a lighthouse for the way high schools and primary schools work together in an active way. We're in a partnership with the University of Wollongong. So when I was talked about that continuum from kindergarten to year 12, it also then continues onto a university setting as well.
Thank you, Mark. So collective is pretty handy, isn't it? But well done. It's absolutely amazing. It's been a privilege to work across all the schools and with the collective team. We've got some slides here too of some of the other things that have been, the links that have been made between the collective work and education and community. Through Links to Learning, a group of young local people who are at risk of leaving school have been undertaking training in various subjects through the Neighbourhood Centre, including barista and hospitality, and practical training by running the Young Beans Cafe on Fridays. Bellambi Neighbourhood Centre received funding of about $20,000 to pilot new training to recognise the skills of volunteers through the new Certificate 1 in Active Volunteering, Retail and Customer Service. This will provide additional training for the young people from Links to Learning, as well as other young students from Corrimal High and the Bellambi neighbourhood area. The initial startup funding has been secured for work on social enterprise initiatives in food for the Bellambi community. This will be an ongoing initiative to support social enterprise development and employment, and may create a pathway to continue support the Young Beans Cafe. These are just some examples of the many great things that are happening with everybody working together. Thank you.
Okay. We're going? Yeah. Hi, girls. Hi. So can you tell us a bit about what you're doing here today?
Well, on Fridays between 12 to 2, we have a little cafe. And we make coffees, milkshakes. And now we started making iced coffees.
And it's part of a course, is that right?
Yeah, it was hard at first with heaps of customers, but now I'm used to it.
Yep. And what else have you been learning as part of the course that you're doing?
Well, with this whole program, we do so we work on our resumes for we've done our barista course, and we do resumes to help us to find jobs and that. We do work hard for construction and that, and then we do office work, and then at the end of this, we do a massive cafe day for everyone. And then after that's all done, we actually get all our resumes together, and then they start helping us to find an actual job. They found out about a Bunnings in Bellambi, and they're trying to help us to get one of the jobs are there and other places.
And what's your favourite part of what you've been learning?
I enjoy the cafe and everything.
Yeah, people helping with my resumes and the cafe, because that's what I want to do.
The last theme of our 4 activity themes that came from our consultations is community-focused services. Actually, sorry to introduce myself first. Sorry, my name is Linda Bunclark, and I actually work for FACS in the community and reform team. And I probably should add my own acknowledgement actually of this journey and my part in it, and the pride that I have had in being able to be given opportunity through this learning experience of developing a collective impact model, especially for our local communities, and to be involved in that, and also to be able to bring my own perspective from my own work into it too, which was has been really amazing. So community-focused services are all about trying to make the service system work for the people that they're there for. Through the consultations, we heard quite a lot of feedback from community members saying they didn't even know what services were available or what was in their area. And the services themselves were saying they didn't know each other very well, and how do we kind of make connections? So we thought it was important to try and find ways of getting the services to be more connected and to know, more intimately what each other does, so that referral pathways and any, opportunities that come up, they could talk straight away. So obviously we wanted to try and avoid the old interagency model, because, nobody wants to keep going to meetings and sharing information that way. But one of the ways that came up was the walk and talk. And this was an amazing event that happened last year. And in our action plan, we intend to actually have a couple of them each year, so that the services that either work purely in Bellambi, or services who are working in the broader area but obviously have clients and activities in Bellambi, can actually get together and be with each other and learn from each other quite regularly. So the walk and talk started with a host service in Corrimal, where a lot of the services are actually based. So, you know, they went around to each other's offices and were given presentations and were shown tours of the facilities, things like that, so that people could actually see what the services were actually providing. And then one of them had a small bus, and they were all able to go to the neighbourhood centre where they had a bit of lunch and, you know, some more discussion around the service system. So, you know, that's really quite important to keep services connected. That's the walk and talk ending up in the community garden at Bellambi Neighbourhood Centre. Next one. We've heard a lot spoken about the Neighbourhood Centre, and obviously in FACTS Community and Reform, that's one of our core activities to work with our NGOs and support the neighbourhood centres. And occasionally some community centres have issues, you know, local issues internally and things like that. So at Bellambi we have to acknowledge that there have been some governance issues in the last year or so, so we've had to have a bit of a spotlight and a focus on supporting them and helping them through those issues. This is obviously to provide more support to them for the future, so that a lot more activities and a lot more information and community activities can actually happen there. So we're continuing to work with the centre at the moment. One of the other things that came out was when the services talking together, talking about families that they have, that they're working with, that, you know, nobody seems to be looking at or dealing with, or families that maybe been drifting for a while and, you know, things are going a bit pear-shaped for them and no one seems to be able to work out what exactly is happening. So obviously a community case conferencing or case management model is an obvious thing to happen, that maybe services should actually be coming together to look more closely at the individual families. And so Bellambi Family Partnerships was formed, and the invisible threads of the strongest ties came from a German philosopher, Friedrich Nietzsche, who said that people will actually work selfishly will act selflessly because they are deeply attuned to the needs of people. And I mean, that's really part of our collective work too, that we want to work together to see better things happen. And so the Bellambi Family Partnership came from that kind of premise, that we needed to look more closely at families and be more intimately involved with them to find out what their needs are and to actively find the right solution. And amazing outcome for one of the families that we have encountered. I think along the way about 8 have been identified for the Bellambi Family Partnerships. 5 are still currently working with services, and there are 3 that were, for various reasons, ineligible or perhaps decided not to be involved. But for one particular family with, you know, quite a lot of children, quite a lot of issues too, so they were, you know, on everyone's radar. But sitting down and talking with them and working out that, you know, what was worrying them, what things they needed. You know, there were sort of issues like perhaps disability in one of the children, and you know, they didn't appear to have any support. So obviously working together, then we were able to come back and check and look and investigate and find that there was actually 2 lots of funding that were actually allocated to this family that they either weren't aware of or hadn't worked out how to access. So, you know, we could open those doors for them and really make it a difference and get them back on the straight and narrow. So, you know, those are the amazing outcomes that come from just focusing and having an opportunity to focus on the particular families. We've still got more comments at the check-in event we had recently. You know, people just did reinforce that they would really want to know more about who's operating and what's going on. So, you know, we're obviously encouraging services to work closely together, do more promotion, and actually be more visible, even at community events, you know, to have stalls and things like that. So it's important that the community actually does see, you know, who's there and what's available for them, because that obviously gives them an opportunity to maybe self-refer or think more, you know, about what might actually help them. And I think that's me wrapped up. I think we're ready for what's next.
So this is a very recent picture of the garden at Brawonga, which is in a component of Bellambi, and that's Nen there, who actually mentors a young man who's very passionate about gardening. He's learning a whole range of skills, and they're doing all of this gardening themselves in their local community, and it's flourishing. So it's a real reflection of how Bellambi is flourishing, literally, with the beautiful people there and the physical environment, which was a really big priority for them as well. So very quickly, because I'm getting the super wind up, yeah. I just wanted to touch really quickly on next steps for us. So we're continuing our dedication as a group to the action plan in Bellambi with the community. We often say that we don't do things to community, we do things authentically with community, and we're continuing that journey. And we're very pleased to be able to say that we'll be scaling up to working with additional communities across the district in the new year. And we've actually formalised some very strong governance structures moving forward to help sustain this work long term and be able to pool additional resources together with all of our partners, and also business and philanthropy further as well. So we're really excited about that, and I hope that you found a little bit of a interest in our reflective sort of journey there today. Okay, thank you.